Hello everyone. In this video we're going to have a brief discussion, hopefully, about the recent Centenary special Doctor Who trailer. Now, this is going to be the final episode of the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era, which I'm happy for because Chris Chibnall has not proven to be a great showrunner in my opinion, but the upcoming special, which is due in October, I believe, will be the final episode of his run, and then Russell will be taking over again. Russell T Davies, who was showrunner for the Christopher Eccleston David Tennant episodes, which, if you don't remember, were like considered the peak of the show. So it'll be good to see him return, and I think he will fix the show, if so to say. But this trailer has left me feeling of two minds. On the one hand, it's doing something that I've really wanted to see for a long time, but on the other hand, I really didn't want Chris Chibnall to be the one to do this. So we'll discuss the trailer. It's only about 30 seconds long. It came at the end of the most recent Easter special as just like a next time trailer. So it starts off kind of like showing the Doctor talking about how nothing lasts forever because it's the final episode. So it's like this the sentimental feeling of like this is the last episode, last time this Doctor's going to be on screen as the main Doctor and all that. So we see the Daleks, we see the Cybermen, including the lone Cybermen from the Timeless Children, who I thought was dead, but apparently not. And we see the return of Sacha Dhawan's Master, which, despite being in episodes I don't particularly like, I think he does give a decent performance, so I'm all for it. But then we cut to more shots of like the main cast. We see the Doctor, we see Yaz, the cardboard character that's still here 3 seasons later and has had almost no development, but we see a couple other characters from Flux, like Vinder, who did stuff in Flux. He was kind of just there, to be honest. He was all right. He gave a decent performance, but his subplot wasn't entirely memorable, I would say. But then we get to the middle part of the trailer, which we're gonna save for now, and that's where these box sets come in because at the moment they have no correlation to this episode. But we'll go to the end of the episode where we see Dan wearing the orange spacesuit that first appeared in the Impossible Planet Satan Pit two-parter from season 2 of the modern era, which is 16 years ago that came out. So that's, if you watched that at the time it came out, do you feel old? Yep. But then we see the beginning of what looks to be the Doctor's regeneration. It could be another fake out. They have shown fake out regeneration shots in trailers before, particularly with the Capaldi episodes in season 10. They had a fake out regeneration, and they had one in season 6 as well. But yeah, so in the middle of the episode, we see the return of two characters from the classic era. One of them is Tegan, who debuted in season 18, and was present in season 19. And the other one is Ace, who appeared in season 24 and was there through season 26. Now, to start off with Tegan, I've seen her episodes season 18, season 19, and I think she's a good companion, but I don't have as much of a connection personally. Ace, on the other hand, is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, classic companion. And I think she's very underrated because she comes from a very underrated period of time of the show. Like, season 24 is not the best, but season 26, I feel like is actually really good. Like, I feel like if you go back and rewatch those episodes, you will appreciate it more if you've seen them before and you rewatch them now, or if you've never seen them. I recommend it. It's not. I think there's like 4 stories in the season, 4 or 5. So it's not particularly long to sit through, but Sophie Aldred's Ace gives a fantastic performance throughout, and the way that the season ends is on a massive cliffhanger because they were obviously cancelling the show after season 26, and that's when it went off the air, and then it came back in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston, and we had the TV movie in there as well. But Ace was with the Doctor at the end of the final episode, Survival, of season 26. And unlike other companions, we don't really have a canon reason. Like there were books written that explained where she went, but they have been deemed non-canon, and some of them end with her dying, which I really think is a poor end for her character. It's like she dies off screen in a book that not everyone will read. So I wasn't never a fan of that, but ever since I first saw Remembrance of the Daleks, which is a season 25 episode, which I don't have here, I have it DVD somewhere, but ever since I watched that, I've wanted to see Ace return in a similar way to how Sarah Jane returned in season 2 with School Reunion, which 16 years ago again, so. But I'd always wanted to see that because I thought she really deserved a chance to come back. We could get an explanation as to where she went, because if you've watched season 26, you'll understand that she seems like a character who wouldn't leave the Doctor willingly, kind of like Donna from season 4 of the modern era. She wouldn't leave unless forced to. She feels like she would be there forever, as long as she could be, because she had nothing anchoring her back to Earth, really. Like, at least Donna had Wilf and her mum, who, seems to hate her, but, But Ace really doesn't have anything like that. Like, she's an orphan, and she has no life on Earth. She has no life on the planet that she was on, because she wasn't on Earth when they met the Doctor. But she has really no reason to go back to Earth. The only thing we have of her is she starts this company called A Charitable Earth, which is a company that helps out people in need around the world, which, I mean, the current, explanation is basically she left because she felt she could do better on Earth. Like, she's been inspired by the Doctor to help out people, and she feels like she'd be better helping out there than, going along with the Doctor, who seems to be able to help out perfectly fine on his own. That's only a theory, that's not confirmed, but we've only seen that organization existing in a trailer for that season 26 box set, which is a very good trailer. It's one of the better trailers they've put out. And then it was mentioned in season either 4 or 5 of the Sarah Jane Adventures. Now, to get into that quickly, Russell T Davies wrote the Sarah Jane Adventures, or he was showrunner for that show, and he planned to bring Ace into that show in Sarah Jane Adventures season 5. However, Elizabeth Sladen, who played Sarah Jane, unfortunately passed away before the season could be completed, so the idea was scrapped, essentially, because the show couldn't continue without its lead. So it kind of just sat there, and when I found out about this, I was like, that's a real shame, because that would have been really good to see that character come back to screen. We could get an explanation as to what's been going on, where she's been, why she left the TARDIS, but that's like an extenuating circumstance. There's nothing they could have really done. I think if they'd have continued the show, it would have been distasteful, but still, it was a shame to see such good ideas having to be left on the cutting room floor, basically. But then when it was announced that Russell was coming back, after being happy to see such a good showrunner who penned so many good episodes, was in charge for all the best seasons of the show, in my opinion, after just celebrating almost, one of my thoughts was, if he had it planned to bring Ace back, he could do it again. He could do it now in a school reunion type of way. And I always thought it was kind of almost poetic to have the 14th Doctor be where Ace returns, because Ace first met the 7th Doctor. So, it's kind of kind of a neat little thing, I suppose. But that's not what's going to happen. Instead, Ace is coming back in the Chibnall era. And I have mixed thoughts, because on the one hand, like I've said, I really have wanted to see Ace come back ever since I first saw her on screen, because she's a really fun character. She's really interesting, and I feel like there's a lot they could do with her. But then again, the thing is, it's Chris Chibnall, and I mean, I don't want to say that and just be like, oh yeah, well, Chibnall bad, but the thing is, over Flux, and especially the most recent special, we've seen Chibnall bring back classic characters and not really do a lot with them. Like, we'll talk about Flux here. In the later episodes of Flux, they bring back Kate Stewart, who is a descendant of the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart from the classic series, who appears in a couple of these episodes that are in these box sets. But he's a big secondary character in the classic era, and everyone who's watched the classic episodes knows who he is, right? But she's I think granddaughter I can't remember. I'd have to rewatch the episode where she's introduced. But anyway, she's a relative of him, and she's really good in the Capaldi episodes, I believe anyway. And she's good in the 50th anniversary special, which is actually I think that's where she debuts. But she's really good in that. But then after season 10, she kind of just goes away and isn't heard from again until Flux, where she's brought back, but there's really no point. She doesn't do anything. And it's a shame for a character that was so good in the previous seasons to just do nothing. Like, her inclusion is ultimately pointless, and it really feels like just a way to pander to nostalgia. You see where I'm going with this? The other thing is with the most recent special, Legend of the Sea Devils, which I think is alright. I mean, it's not the worst of Chibnall's era. Like, it's not drivel like The Timeless Children or Orphan 55. But it's not like, it's not the best he's ever done either. Like, I think my favourite episodes from his run are probably Flux episode 2, War of the Sontarans. I quite like that. And then the pilot, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, I think that was also, that showed promise, and it was like, that was about the most development any of the companions ever saw. But the Sea Devils were a classic enemy that appeared in the Third Doctor era, and they've only appeared a couple times on screen, and then they've been put to rest ever since then. And then it was nice to bring them back, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool, bringing back a classic enemy in that way, redesign them, and their design looks pretty good. I mean, the CGI in Legend of the Sea Devils is very hit and miss. Like, some of it is pretty good, and some of it is actually borderline shocking. But yeah, some of it feels a bit cheap, but some of it feels pretty good. But the design of the Sea Devils themselves is pretty good in my opinion. I don't think they could have done much more to make them look better, but the problem is they don't really do anything with them that's interesting. They're kind of just, cookie cutter villains. They kind of just brought back a nostalgic character or characters for the sake of nostalgia. This is where my concern rises, because I worry that these characters are being brought back for the wrong reasons. I believe that Chris Chibnall is bringing these characters back so that people will be talking about the Centenary special. People will be excited to see those characters, and the viewing figures will go up. I don't think this is being done out of respect for the characters. I don't think it's going to be done well. Well, I mean, I don't want to say that, but like, I really hope he does it well, but his past experience would say otherwise. He did bring back the Silurians in season 5 of the modern era, and the episodes weren't bad, but they weren't great either. The Silurians were okay. Like, they were okay in terms of their writing, but it wasn't amazing. It was better than how the Sea Devils were handled. I'll give him that, but it wasn't amazing. And it didn't feel as like blatant as the Sea Devil episode did, where it's like, we're just bringing them back for the sake of bringing them back. Like, they did some interesting stuff with them, but like, I don't think it went far enough, and I don't think he's going to go far enough with bringing back Ace or Tegan, to be fair. But like I say, this is more focused on Ace because that's the character I have a stronger connection to. I hope against all hope that he does it well, but his record is against him in this case, and I'm a bit nervous going into this episode, I'll be honest. I don't want to be negative about it because it's like, well, you're getting what you wanted kind of thing. Like, you wanted the return of this character, you're getting the return of this character. But I don't know how to feel. And the trailer sends some mixed messages with that theory that I talked about earlier, where Ace starts the Charitable Earth organization. See, I'm currently believing that she left willingly to start that because she felt as though she could do better on Earth than she could in the TARDIS. Seeing that there are people on Earth that are struggling, like she was, and she can help them. But then the trailer frames it as though, like, she says, it's only been 3 decades for me to Tegan, because they're having a voice call, like a video call even, and presumably a video call. But she says it in a way where she's almost like unhappy, as though she was left there, which, I mean, that could also make sense. I mean, like I said, it doesn't seem like she would leave willingly. But then when you consider the Charitable Earth organization, it's like, well, maybe she decided to do that. So it's sending mixed messages. I'm not sure what to think about that. I guess we'll just have to wait for the episode to come out proper before we can make any true judgment calls on that. But I'm not 100% optimistic that Chibnall will do this right, because even putting his actual work on the show aside, I don't know how much respect Chibnall has for this particular era of the show, because if for those of you who don't know, Chibnall's been around Doctor Who for quite a while. He did some criticisms of like classic episodes back in the day as like a fan, and I think he was talking about like the late Colin Baker stuff, but it could have been early Sylvester McCoy stuff. I don't remember what he's talking about, but he's criticizing it, saying things like it could have been better. There was lots of pointless running around, lots of characters just spouting exposition. Gee, I wonder where he got his. I wonder. He would never do that. No, he would never just have the characters blatantly explain what's going on screen all the time. And he wouldn't just use the sonic screwdriver as a plot contrivance. Oh no. Except that's exactly what he does, but you know. I would not mind seeing the sonic screwdriver get destroyed. Like back in season 19, actually, another point that's here. They got rid of the sonic screwdriver because the new showrunner at the time decided that it was too much of a plot contrivance. It could just solve any plot problem. And it's like, oh, we're in trouble, use the sonic screwdriver. So we destroyed it so that we could have more creative stories. But the sonic screwdriver never really felt like that to me. Through watching all the classic episodes that I've watched, it never felt overused. But now it does with the Whittaker era. She's always out. She's scanning everything, and it's like, oh my god, just put the thing away. do something yourself. But you know, that's a whole other point. And then there's also the fact that with School Reunion, where Sarah Jane came back into the show, that was done by Russell, and the Doctor was David Tennant. These two are both massive fans of the show, but I mean, Chibnall was a fan of the show as well. But the thing is, David Tennant has always been a fan of the show. So seeing Sarah Jane return is like, you know, like seeing like an idol appear. It's like, you know, acting with someone you admire, like a legend to you, like someone that you watched as a child, and you get to act with them. Like, he would have fully appreciated that experience every time he got it. But with Jodie Whittaker, she's admitted many times that before she got the role as the Doctor, she had never watched any Doctor Who. And that's another issue I have with this, bringing these characters back, because before, the actors had respect for those who had come previously. Like, David Tennant respected Elizabeth Sladen, knew who she was familiar with her work on the show, and was, like, you know, truly appreciative of the work she had done. I don't think we're going to get that same level of respect from Jodie Whittaker towards Tegan and Ace, because she's not familiar with the show. She's just she isn't familiar with the show in that way. I don't know, like maybe she has gone back and watched every single classic era episode over these 4 years. But I'm for some reason doubtful. I don't know. I mean, maybe it could be handled tastefully, it could not be. And I am rather cautious going into this episode. I hope against all hope as well that this isn't the only return of Ace we see, because this special looks as though it's going to cram in a lot of stuff. Like, we're going to have the Daleks, the Cybermen, the Master, the return of Tegan, as well as the return of Ace, with Kate Stewart, with Vinder, with Dan and Yaz. That's possibly 9 different plot points all converging on each other. And I worry it's going to be an overstuffed mess. And we're not going to get the time that these two companions deserve for coming back. With School Reunion, it was a standalone episode dedicated to Sarah Jane's return with a minor villain, and the conflict was wrapped up rather quickly because the focus was bringing back Sarah Jane, explaining what she had been doing, explaining the problems caused by the Doctor that Sarah Jane went through, because he kind of did just leave her there. Like, I mean, it's not like he just said, right, get out, go away. But it was he kind he didn't he kind of just left her there, and like he didn't really say he was coming back, but at the same time, he didn't say he would never see her again. So I don't know, but the point is, School Reunion was dedicated to the return of Sarah Jane. This Centenary special is dedicated to not the return of Tegan and Ace. That is a side plot, and I really do think it's going to end up being an afterthought that's purely done for the sake of nostalgia. And these characters deserve better than that. Because, like I said, we've got Dalek plot, Cyberman plot, Master plot, the whole regeneration story, possibly wrapping up a relationship between the Doctor and Yaz. Which, I mean, I know some people really want that, and I know some people really don't want that. It's a really sad. I have a really sad thought on this because I would like to see it happen only because if it doesn't, then Yaz has had zero character arc. She has gone from point A and stayed at point A. Right now, she's taken a couple steps towards point B, like some noticeable arc, because otherwise, she's learnt nothing. She's done nothing. I'm sorry, but she really has been a useless companion. So when we get to Legend of the Sea Devils and the Doctor says, "You're one of the best people I've ever met," it feels unearned. It feels odd. It doesn't feel deserved because Yaz has done basically nothing throughout these 3 seasons and 2 specials. So I don't know. It's not the reason to want a relationship like that to happen, especially like because it clearly means a lot to some people who are more fans of the show, and even just in general. It's like there'll be people that will be happy with it. There'll be people complaining that it's just done for woke attention and all that. But at the end of the day, the only reason I want to see it happen is for something to happen with this character, and that's not the reason you should be rooting for a relationship. And I don't think that was planned either. I don't think Chibnall planned this at all. I think what's happened is fans have seen little details that could possibly, if looked at in a certain context, be linked to a possible relationship between 13th Doctor and Yaz. But he didn't plan for that. But then when he saw the fans putting these pieces together, he's like, some people want this. I'll just write that into these specials. Because it really does come out of nowhere. It's like, there's very subtle kind of almost maybe references, and there's a lot of added words in there to describe just how minor some of these details are in these first 2 series. But then Eva the Daleks comes around, and then Dan's just like, he's picked up on it, even though honestly the time that they've spent in Flux, all 3 of them together, is rather limited. So maybe it's implied they've gone on months worth of adventures in between the finale of Flux and the start of Eva the Daleks. But by the end of Eva the Daleks, Dan's like to the Doctor and Yaz, guys, do you not see it in each other? She likes you, you like her, blah, blah, blah. So apparently it's that obvious that Dan was able to point it out. But, also, one other thing. Dan, most underrated character. Use Dan more. He's here. He was great in the first couple episodes of Flux, but then you just kind of had him there off to the side. It's like, you got this great guy. The best character probably to come out of this entire thing, other than maybe Bradley Walsh's Graham. I find it funny how the comedic relief character has become the most developed and has the most interesting plot points, because Yaz is just nothing. Unless they do this relationship, and even then, it's a very tacked on relationship at the end, and it's just really to appease some fans who have noticed a couple of possible maybe kind of hints. But yeah, so I mean, everything, the effects all look good in the trailer. I mean, the regeneration effects look pretty good. Yaz, I think, survives based on the trailer, because I mean that could be added in. But the Doctor does say Yaz as she goes to regenerate. Again, assuming this isn't a fake out regeneration, but the effects look decent. She doesn't seem to be in the TARDIS, so that's kind of new. But yeah, I think that's probably about all I have to say on it. So, in conclusion, too lazy, didn't watch, skip to the end. I'm happy to see the return of Ace, but I'm not entirely convinced Chibnall will do it well. I have my doubts, and I'm going into this final episode of the Whittaker era very cautiously. So that'll do it for now. That's not too long a video. I mean, Only I could talk for 25 minutes about a 30-second trailer, but you know, not too bad. We'll see what happens, and maybe I'll review it. If you want to see more reviews of Doctor Who episodes, I can always talk about more of them. Like I can give further thoughts on Flux or the two specials or other stuff. But might do a review of the episode when it comes out. But this final special is going to be a make it or break it moment for me. If it's good, then I might look back on this era with more of a kinder eye. Like I can go, well, those episodes weren't very good, but they brought back these two classic companions. One of them is one of my favorites, and they did it in a tasteful way, and I felt as though it was done well. Or it'll be this era was terrible, and then they ended it by bringing back two companions. Didn't give them any time to develop. Didn't give them any time to do anything other than just be there for the sake of nostalgia. But one final thought, actually, I guess. I hope that Ace gets more than one episode. I hope she's in the 60th anniversary special, and I hope Tegan is as well, because I know that she has a lot of fans as well. And she is good. Like, I do enjoy the episodes with her. It's just I have much more of a connection with Ace as a character and as a companion, so I believe that she was a better companion, but I also do like Tegan a lot, and I do believe she deserves better than just one episode as well. So I hope they come back for the 60th anniversary special. Ideally, I would want just Ace to be the new companion for the 14th Doctor, so we can get just more. But that's like fever dream. That's not going to happen. But anyway, right before I think of any more thoughts to talk about, we're gonna end this here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Chibnall.